Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people, I hope you enjoyed the conversation and thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you out there who are new to the show, welcome. Please feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer and soda in the fridge or water. Cheers. Cheers, my friend. How you doing today?
Good.
How's it going?
It's good.
Good.
Trying to stay warm.
For everybody out there that does not know my guest, speaking of not being able to talk right.
Yeah, right.
For the people that don't know my guest, sitting here to my left, everybody make some noise for the very talented Sierra Sellers.
Rufio.
The world's happy that you're here.
Thank you.
I'm happy that you're here. Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So happy 2020. How's your new year going?
Really well.
Yeah.
Really well. It seems very positive so far. So
Same.
yeah.
Same. It's a nice turn of events for things.
I know 2019 was kind of rough, but I have high hopes.
Good. So what have you been up to? Just recently put out something, I believe. Didn't
Today.
you?
Yeah.
Today. Well, by the time this goes out, it'll be recently.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I put out a song I had actually made a music video for, and I don't know why I didn't want to release it to be available for streaming back then. It was like a year ago.
Okay.
But I wasn't in the mood for it. And so then I was looking on YouTube and I forgot I made that video, and I went and clicked on it. I was like, oh, this song's tight. I should probably do something with it. So I was like, oh, whatever. I'll put it out. That way, if people haven't heard the video or haven't seen the video, they can still hear the song and everything like that. But other than that side situation, I've been working on my EP, Ophelia. I'm in the last final stages of it, and it's starting to come together. I was really nervous at one point because I'm very particular about my music. I'm very particular if it doesn't sound a certain way. And if it's not almost perfect, if not perfect, I won't put it out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think that that's your selfish right as a creator to do that.
Exactly.
And I find that it's normal if you're an artist with your own unique voice and identity. You want it to come across correct.
Exactly. And I mean, even we're probably in the, I don't know, 5th or 6th phase of mixing for just the intro track.
Sure.
And I didn't listen. I was in the studio last night and I didn't listen to what we had done because I wanted kind of fresh ears with it. And then this morning I sent the engineer a voice memo of all the notes that I had. So I'm sure the people that have helped me are sick of me, but I appreciate them. And
it's a fine line because much like a painting, a song can never be done. It doesn't have to be if you don't want it to be.
Exactly.
So you kind of got to learn compromise is a bit of a son of a bitch, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
So how are you with compromise in this quest to put out perfect music?
If I'm in a partnership with somebody else, let's say I'm working closely with a producer or another artist on the song, and they really like a part or something that I might disagree with, but it doesn't directly affect my part in the song, I'll let it go. But when it comes down to if the engineer and I disagree on something, I don't think it needs more reverb. I don't really like reverb, so that's a poor example, but whatever.
Sure.
If I'm more reverb and he's like, no, and I'm like, trust me, just trust me.
Yeah.
Even if it sucks, I just want to hear it. I would say I'm a little less apt to compromise on the mix of my song if I don't think it's where it should be.
It could be really...
But I've never come across that. I've never had somebody be like, you're wrong. And I've never said to somebody, you're wrong,
Yeah, there's no right or wrong way really to record a song or mix a song. That's why I always think it's funny. You see stuff on YouTube the best way to record hip hop vocals in 2020, and it's just it's
in 2020 as if it's a trend.
Oh yeah,
I guess
as if it's really changed. But they always recycle the
Study
shit.
show.
all the channels that I subscribe to, all that mixing nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
I'm super into it just because I like knowing about new plugins and new things that come out. But it's there's no real right or wrong way to do it, I find. I mean, there's some things that are objectively incorrect, I would suppose.
Yeah. Like
But
how I used to mix my songs in high school. I just turned the compressor all the way up, and that
Sure.
was my mix and master.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, it's if it sounded good to you at the time.
Yeah, I
And
just needed
also-
it to get louder. I was like, I don't even know how this garage band, you're killing me. No, I'm kidding.
Sure. And then the only way to learn how to do something right is to do it wrong.
Yeah.
You'll probably spend more time doing it wrong than doing
Yeah.
it right, unfortunately.
But I mean, people always tell me that, or have been in the studio with me or work with me. They're like, you're just so hard on yourself. Like, you are your worst critic and your toughest critic. And I'm like, but if I'm unhappy with the song and I put it out there, I could get like Beyonce could shout me out and I'd be like, wow, I could have made this better for Beyonce. She heard this version. Like, she could have heard the version that I hear in my mind. So
I think there's so much an important tool in promotion that I think a lot of artists overlook is the power of ego, not in a bad way, but if like you really fuck with yourself and you put that energy out there, people will fuck with you. But if there's like this kind of like negative, I'm not so sure, self-conscious energy around your work,
Yeah.
people are going to be like,
yeah,
That's why
potentially.
there's a lot of bullshit that's real popular because
Yeah.
it's like, you know, objectively bad depending on, you know, your personal opinion on something, but they really fuck with themselves. And especially in 2020,
Yeah.
a lot of people seem to be making it big just more off of their personality and the attitude around their work. But, you know, if you're a real artiste,
Yeah.
there's more to it than that.
For
And I
sure.
imagine that's kind of the headspace you're in.
Yeah, I also am just not. I always said I'll never compromise my character to achieve my goals. It's just when I've been dreaming of being a singer, successfully going on tour, being in the studio, writing for other people. Maybe not all those aspects when I was in preschool, but I definitely knew I wanted to perform and sing in front of people for my career in preschool. I never envisioned another version of myself. You know does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I've gotten advice from people and that, you know, people will tell me to do this and that. And like, oh, if you dress this way or if you use your looks or if you X,
Sure.
Y, and Z, I'm like, y'all don't get it.
You know, I always love when people give me advice only because of this. And this isn't me talking down on myself. It's just like, I know where I'm at in terms of this societal chart of making it. And if we're sitting at a table together talking, you know probably just as much as I know, unfortunately, in some aspects. So if you're trying to like school me on something, it's like, has this worked for you? What
Yeah.
evidence do you have that this ridiculous information that you're giving me is actually...
Because they made the YouTube video about how to make
Oh, yeah.
a hip hop beat in 2020.
Sure.
It's just, you know, they didn't tell you that. So even though you don't do that kind of stuff.
It's interesting to get other people's perspective, though, on like how they perceive you, even if it's something that you aggressively disagree with or don't want to do.
I have people like I sang at a show a while back, and it was like it was a great opportunity. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love everything that I do, but there are certain places with certain vibes, and they bring out certain parts of me. This person came up to me and was like, you got to interact more. Like, you should go and like sing to the guys and like dance on the guy, stuff like that. I was like, I hate stuff like that because it's like, stop telling me. It would be different if somebody approached me and was like, I would like to see you do this or whatever. And I would, you know, okay, cool, I'll consider it. Yeah, but you need to be doing this. You need to be like giving somebody a lap dance and like, ugh.
I feel like those are people that they're not listening. They're just looking.
Yeah.
And that's obnoxious.
Well, it's also frustrating because the performance is, for a lot of people, the only thing they really appreciate in the moment, but they don't realize that I write all those songs, and they don't realize that I helped produce some of those songs and that I'm in the studio almost every song from start to finish. So they don't see all the hard work and the other side of my artistry. The performance is just a small part that you guys are seeing, like a very small part. They don't see me, you know, setting up things and answering these emails and coming and doing podcasts and
Yeah.
they don't see all the behind the scenes work, so they don't, that's a whole part of being an artist too, is like the whole creative process, not just the performance outlet. So it's frustrating when people are like, you need to be doing this, and then you would just take off. Yeah, if I went in the crowd and danced on a dude, I'm sure my career would immediately take off because that's all I need. Like, shut up. Sorry.
No. Let it out. This is definitely the place. So with that background that you do have coming up, wanting to sing, getting into writing music, writing songs, getting into production and things like that, it seems like you have knowledge of these things, and you just literally told me that you are involved in it.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Now I know.
Yeah.
I made some assumptions, and now we're here. Yeah. So it even makes so much more sense now that you're such a perfectionist, because once you're like really behind the curtain and like behind the board in the studio and you understand how things work, it's like then you really open up Pandora's box, because it's one thing to be an artist that's removed from the sort of like the mechanics of how it works and just like, I kind of want it to sound like this. And then you have an engineer. It's like, well, that can't really work. And you don't know. So you're like, okay. But no, you're like, no, motherfucker, I know that we could do this,
Sometimes I get really frustrated. There was this one time in the studio, and I got really, really frustrated because the person I was working with, I think he was tired, but I needed this one sound, and I knew this person could make this sound. It was like a raindrop sound, and he could do the thing where I can't do it. Flick the side of your cheek. And so he kept looking through and I kept telling him like, no, like he's going to go in the booth and record this sound, and then we're just going to, chop and screw, whatever. And he kept trying to like argue with me, and I was like, yo, just let him record this raindrop. And then he did it, and he was like, oh, I see what you're saying. And it's like, yeah, well, I wouldn't be this adamant if I didn't know what I was talking. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I run into that, and people do make a lot of assumptions about me. Like, when I release music and stuff, I get DMs all the time, like, who wrote this song, or like, where'd you get this song? I wrote it. Oh, I like it. I like you even more now. It's like, damn, how much did you like me before?
Yeah. It's really interesting. There's the way that internet and SoundCloud, I think, is a big proponent in this, and how it's shaped the creation of music over the past decade. Because when I was in middle school, I started making like beats and stuff in 8th grade, and it was like, I had like a little piece of equipment, and there was like Fruity Loops and stuff like that. Yeah. There was no like the idea of like YouTube wasn't even a thing, because I'm fucking old. So it's just like, there wasn't a thing like go online and find a beat and just rap to that. It's like, you want a beat, you have to fucking make it. So now there's this whole culture of people that are used to the idea of just finding a producer online really easily, no interaction with that producer, just buy a beat or just take a beat and then just rap on top of it, and that's it. And that's how so many people put out music now. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I think a lot of people are taken back by like, oh, you actually make your beats? Because even I get that still. There's people that have known me for like 5 years that don't know I make beats. And they're like, oh, you make those songs?
Yeah.
Where the fuck do you think they come from?
My production skills, like, I make beats, but I do not share them. They are extremely trash.
Yeah, with that attitude.
Right? No, I'm just saying right now, because I was actually in college. I started, making them, and I was getting pretty decent. And then, because I didn't know any producers. And so I was on YouTube searching the type beats, because I'm like, I don't know, I need beats.
You got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I started like practicing, and even with guitar, I was like practicing every single day. And then I met people that played instruments, and I met producers. So I've fallen off from it, but still I'm trying to
You're still involved.
Get back. Yeah. And like, I'm not making the beat, but I'm saying like, I like that, or I'm singing the melody of what I would want them to play. So I'm involved. I don't
You're collaborating.
Exactly. Yeah. See, not with the words today. You are not me.
Yeah. You're not like, there isn't some think tank of people that are like crafting your songs in a lab and then bringing to me like, here you go, Sierra, here's your new hit song.
Yeah. And even sometimes like producers will send me packs of their beats and stuff like that, and even then, after I write it, they tend to always go back in and kind of cater the beat to what I've written in my
as
voice
you should.
and everything. Yeah. So I'm used to that now, and I've gotten very spoiled. I've also gotten very spoiled with my band too, because I performed this one summer with recently with like a backing track, and it was horrible.
It doesn't feel the same, does it?
It was so like it was such a disconnect.
It's karaoke.
Yeah. And I was like, this is like, it was like the sound, if there were like levels, the sound was just right here. Whereas with the band, it's like from the bottom up and fills out, where it's like the beat is like super linear.
Yeah.
And I was like, this sucks.
I've been there. I've been there 100%.
But people also don't understand when they book you for things too, like, oh, can you just not bring your band? That's also a part of my artistry. That's also a part of how I express myself and my creativity. And I'm like, I mean, sometimes
it's like
I'll
if
do
you don't
it,
want
but
the band, you don't want me.
yeah, that's how I feel. But sometimes I'm like, Sierra, are you there yet to be making those calls? But on the other hand,
It's
it's
up to
like
you.
it's my music, so I am.
Yeah. I mean, I do hip hop and I have a band, but there's just some shows that like I want to play with friends and it doesn't make sense. Nobody else is going to have a band. Can't show up. It's just not equipped. It's like, okay, whatever. I could still just play a rap show.
Yeah.
Hopefully you have a good PA at least. Otherwise it's
Yeah.
going to be real weird. But if
That's
it's
why
weird,
I bought my own.
yeah.
Well, part of it. We've fallen on a budget.
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta, it's really just experience, and you start to adapt over time and you learn these things just as you go.
Yeah.
That's really all it is. It's just rolling with the punches, I suppose,
True chains.
of being an underground artist. And I think on the flip, I had mentioned how the SoundCloud culture changed a lot in, our demographic of music. I think the other thing that works against us is just people having a low expectation of like an underground artist or a local artist. Sometimes they don't think they expect or realize how much goes into it. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's arguable that a lot of times artists like you that are working independently are probably working so much harder than somebody that has a whole team behind them. Like individually.
Maybe. Yeah. Potentially.
At times, I'm sure.
I like to think that when I get to the level where I'm doing music full time, I could rest. That's what I was just thinking about when you said that. I was like, I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
'Cause I hope I'm working towards, work hard now, rest a little bit later.
I was thinking when you were telling me about your difficulties with perfection in the studio and how it's good to have knowledge of how things work, but how sometimes it's a curse because you get distracted. I feel like when you're recording, if I'm performing, I just want to focus on the performance. If I'm distracted thinking about like everything else, you can't really lock in. But it's so hard for me to separate from that. Especially if I'm like recording myself, which I do a lot, which is the worst, recording your own vocals.
I love recording myself. I love it. The only downside about it is that you don't get, I like people in the studio being like, oh, maybe you could try this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not like random. It's the worst when like random people in the studio that you met for the first time are just like there because they're a friend of a friend.
I
And
hate
they're
when
like-
people that don't belong in the studio are in the studio.
Yeah. I don't really have anybody in the studio. If anybody is in the studio with me, it's my band.
Yeah.
And I obviously like them and their opinions.
Yeah. Well, they should be there.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that. I like direction as far as background vocals are concerned, because I hate background vocals with a burning passion. I don't know why. I just always hated them. But I love recording myself because I'm very quick.
Yeah.
And I know what I like. Sometimes when I'm like recording, I have to like explain to the engineer what I want, what spot I want them to go back to, and where and it's sometimes it's easier just to do it.
I can't say some being in the being in the position of working with another engineer, there's been times recording vocals and just seeing how long they take to maybe get a new track set up or something. I'm just like, come the fuck on. I want to do this. Like, especially, so I can see that. I definitely have. It's easier. Workflow can be a bit easier. And I'm a bit of a control freak.
But I have to get more organized when I record because I never label any of my tracks. And then when I go to like export them, I'm like, and I have to go back and label them. It's so annoying. So I need to learn a little bit from my current engineer. He's very organized.
Yeah, you could get organized. Just a little patience.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm quick with it. So I'm just like, gotta get
so outside of music, how organized is your life?
It's pretty organized.
Okay.
It has to be. I mean, I have a full-time job and a part-time job. And I'm currently working on this project, also currently planning my best friend's baby shower.
Holy smoke.
Yeah, I got a lot going on. And my job too, it's not overbearing or overwhelming in any way, but I'm a childcare coordinator. So staff, if they have issues or problems or whatever, they do contact me outside of my office hours. So sometimes I'll be on the phone at 8:00 at night or something. So I have to stay on it. They probably think the staff that I work with probably think I'm super unorganized because I'm like, you have to send it to me in an email or else it's not real because I'll forget about it. But they don't know that I log all their emails
Oh, sure.
and put them away in different places so I can stay on it.
Yeah, my whole existence revolves around lists and Google Calendar, and if it's not in there, it's toast. Exactly. I will not forget.
Exactly.
Or I will not remember. I will not forget. Bro, it has been a long day.
But yeah, I can't even do a phone calendar. I have to write. I have a whole planner thing, and I have to write it down. Just that's how I remember things. Easier, I guess.
With writing songs, are you a notepad, analog,
pen and paper? I have several songs. I also like that because I sign and date every song. I have a songbook from when I was in 3rd grade, and every song is dated and signed.
That's so cool. So
it's nice to have that catalog of music, and I can be like, what was I doing this year? Or what was I writing? It's really cool.
When did you start getting into actually recording your music?
I recorded, the first time I ever recorded, I was a senior in high school and I was shaking the whole time. It was so bad. And it was in this dude's, sounds creepy. It wasn't creepy. It was in this dude's closet at his house.
I mean, that sounds
pretty standard.
Pretty
for
normal
those who have never recorded in the closet. It was a totally safe environment. There were other people there. It wasn't weird. I was surrounded by shirts. It was very warm. But I recorded once, and then, quite frankly, a boyfriend at the time was like, I don't want you recording music. If you record music, I'll break up with you. And I was like, oh.
What the fuck is that?
He grew out of that. He and I are cool now. We're not together or anything, but we're friends, and we look back at those times and crack up about how, because it was mutual. It was equally psycho about each other. But anyway, so I chilled on it. And then when we broke up, when I was my freshman year of college, that's when I started really getting into it. And the first place I recorded a full song was actually in one of the classrooms in one of the buildings in my college.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So these guys came up and set up a microphone in front of the room, and there were people in the lecture seats and stuff like that. And I recorded my first song. That was
that for part of a class or something, or people just using the facilities and people hanging out?
Because we were we're going to record, and I was like, well, I know that there were stuff not foam, but equipment to repel. I don't know.
Sure. Some sort of a dampener or something.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, oh, let's just go in there. That's probably going to be the best for us to record. And we did, and the person who I met had friends at my college, and that's how I met him. And his friends had friends and they were all in there. But that was 2014. So I think I was still 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prior to any of this, did you have any experience with performing at all? Like, what were you doing with the singing prior to recording?
I sang in church.
Okay. That'll do it.
Yeah. And then I sang, I think there was only like once or twice. No, it was a little bit more than that. A couple times with this little band, and they kind of kicked me out as a lead singer.
Oh, no.
Well, I used to be so quiet.
Okay.
I was very scared because I've always said and I've always felt that it's different, you know, singing in church and singing for God than like singing secular music or whatever. But I would be so scared and so nervous. And the one guitar player who I still play with from time to time, he would just like get pissed at me. He'd be like, speak up, like sing louder, come on. And even there are times where we play like even, you know, within the past year, or he's like, Sierra, let go. And it's something that I still have to work on. I still get stage fright. I still, you know, have to have that confidence to be able to really sing in front of people.
Well, I think the thing that blows my mind about the style of music you do and replicating it live is like really wrestling with those dynamics, because there's a lot of elements to your music that are very intimate and it's meant to be quiet.
Yeah.
Especially with like your delivery. But in a live scenario, you just can't pull that off because it's like as quiet as you're singing with the live band. It's like, well, the band's louder than you.
Exactly.
So how are you going to mic this appropriately? And
Yeah.
like getting that feel right is so hard. So whenever I see people like do it, because it's not impossible, it just takes extra work and really training your voice to like be able to sing in a live environment. It's wild. Takes time.
Yeah. It's definitely been a journey. That's for sure. Yeah.
A journey that hopefully you'll continue to be on for a
Yeah,
while.
dude, I hope so. Like I want to go on tour so badly. I'll go broke, but I'll go on tour.
Have you had any experience playing shows out of town?
Yeah. We were in where were we? Philly and Chicago right before the new year. And then I'm going back to Chicago and then going to DC. And I sang in like Florida before, sang in New York. So I'm trying to figure out a way. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way how to set up my own little tour. It's just so hard when you're completely independent. Like everything that is spent is my money. And then I'm not paying for my band because I can't afford to pay for them.
Yeah.
So it's their money also that they have to be willing to invest. And they're not going to, not that they're not going to, they're not always able to invest in shows that they might not feel are worth it. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's so hard to figure all that stuff out, but we will figure it out.
Yeah, it's very, very, it's an unfortunate like ceiling to hit. And it happens, it's very common. You're in a very normal position right now, unfortunately normal. But that's the thing, just trying to figure out like, how do you break through those barriers? How do you get people willing to take a chance on you and your band without having some like gimmick or some temporary thing attached to it, without being like, oh, she's gonna dance on all the guys at the show.
Little do they know I can't even dance. Like that was the funniest part. Like I can two-step and that's about it. But I actually watched this. I watched this interview with Jay-Z. It was his Forbes interview, and I forget what the question was or whatever, but he basically, I think it was something about the success of his music and how he got on kind of later in his, later, because, you know, people blow up with music now at like 17. And, you know, some people are really good at it at 17. Some people are not. And their careers, you know, kind of falter. But he was saying, he's like, I never rode a wave. And he's like, I just basically created my own and waited for people to ride my wave. And like, I try to keep that in mind when I see, you know, I'm getting older and people my age have had solid careers now for like the past 2-3 years. So it's easy to feel like a failure if you look at the age. And, you know, with social media and all the other components of, you know, the lifestyle of making it and being successful in music or having a career in music, it's like if you don't have it when you're young, it's like you're not going to get it, which is totally false. But
oh yeah,
it's easy to get caught up in that.
Definitely. I think that the most important thing goes back to that energy and that attitude that you have, and what is your definition of making it, and also not taking the things that you have for granted in the moment.
Yeah.
And like just being aware, like, okay, like I'm not touring right now, but I'm not doing nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I find that, you know, every day it's a little bit easier for me to go to sleep just knowing that like I accomplished like 4 more things that I hadn't had done the day before or something.
And I think just going back to your question of like, how am I going to get people to take a chance? I slowly am convincing myself that people are going to take a chance on me when they're ready to. I just got to keep my head down, stay focused, stay humble, do what I feel is right for me and my music and my vision. And then if people mess with it, they mess with it. And if they don't, I tried. And I don't think I'll ever stop making music or doing music.
Yeah.
But I do think it's going to I don't think I'm going to like blow up anytime. I don't think I'm the type of person that's going to blow up overnight. Who knows? Maybe I will. I hope I do. Ophelia coming out soon. But
I think that's the best focus to have, though, is just on the work itself and putting energy into making the best product possible and not focusing so much. I know people that'll spend, you know, a week recording an album and then 3 months on Instagram strategy and like, you know, like
dang,
super silly stuff.
People always ask me, why haven't you done an album? I'm like, I can barely pull off an EP. Like the EP even that I'm working on now was originally 6 songs, and I went ahead, recorded it, spent some like time on it and stuff. And I was like, this song isn't good enough. Just scrap it.
Yeah, sure.
And it like, finally I found 5 songs that I'm really, really happy with. But thinking about a whole album, like I'm even upset with this EP that I didn't do all the small details of like the transitions and skits and things that I wanted to do with it, because I just don't have the time or money to pull it off because, you know, for whatever reason. So whenever I do an album, music will be my only career, and you will not hear from me for like a year.
I think that
I'm going to get off social media. You won't be able to reach me unless it's an emergency. Nope.
I think that it's really easy to get disconnected too, because you told me you're working a full-time job and another part-time job and all these things. And if an album takes you 2 years to put together, or an EP or whatever, you didn't spend 2 years nonstop on that thing because you have, you know, all that other time that's in all the other hustles that
and also performing. Like music is a job also. I mean, this week alone, outside of I'm trying to think. I think I had 1 day off, and I think that was Tuesday, potentially. And I'm talking about day off, whereas I came home from work and I didn't have to go to my other job or do something with music, which is like, I don't know. I don't think people understand that.
Was that day off? Did you even allow yourself to have that time off?
No, I definitely answered all the emails. I was back. I consider that a day off because I'm sitting in bed and I'm watching Netflix. I'm still working, but it's kind of like it's like a housekeeping type, you know,
I just feel it doesn't stop
to these questions.
And it can't. As much as I love the idea of like, actually, no, I don't even love the idea of doing nothing. Now that I think about it, it stresses me out.
Right? I cannot go to bed until I've done something productive.
Yeah.
I feel like a total failure. It just doesn't exist. There was one time though, I was honestly very burnt out by December of 2019, just with like life things and all the music I was making and the gigs that I had booked and traveling and stuff like that, where I did take a week off. I still was at work, my job, but I was like, Sierra, I've been sick for like 2 months. It was one of those things where I wasn't taking care of myself. Like I didn't stop to eat if I had to be somewhere. I was just there.
Yeah.
Now I'm learning to slow down and take care of myself, because quite frankly, that's more important than, we said 7:30 tonight, and then I was like, can we do it 7:45? I need to eat this pizza. You know?
Totally.
I need to start taking those steps. So I took that time off, and it completely rejuvenated me. And I just noticed how much more productive I was after than before when I wasn't stopping. So I think it's important to take a break sometimes. And I'm definitely this summer going to plan a vacation where I'm not working in any capacity and just breathe for a second, because I think that's really important just to your health and mental well-being, but also to like the creative juices and everything.
I agree. I get into these terrible cycles where, it starts out good. I tell myself, I'm going to start going to bed early, because instead of staying up all night and doing stuff half-assed and falling asleep at my computer, I could just wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning, have nobody bugging me, and work on that stuff with a fresh brain. That's the perfect goal, right?
Yeah.
And I'll be good with that for a little bit.
Yeah.
But then, it's like, okay, well, now I'll stay up till 11:30, then 12, then 1, then it eventually just goes into this thing where I'm going to bed at 2 and still trying to wake up at 5.
Yeah. That is one thing I will never compromise, is my sleep. If I am tired, I'm going to bed. And like, I'm the type of person, I need 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah, I don't get tired and then like push through. It'll just out of nowhere, I'm like, oh crap, I gotta sleep. And then I go.
Yeah.
But if I'm in the zone on something, I won't get tired.
Yeah.
And then I'll realize that it's 2 in the morning and I'm like, oh shit.
That is a very good point.
It's almost like if you're working really hard and you forget to eat, or you don't think about it, which you probably seems like
what happens to me all the time. Like I wasn't hungry. Well, I was hungry. It was one of those things I could have been like, I could wait till I get home. It's not going to be that big of a deal, but I'm not trying to get sick again.
Yeah.
That I was sick for like 2 months and it was horrible. I was miserable.
It's not good to do, but also there's this part of my brain that whenever I realize that I've been like working so hard that I forgot to eat or forgot to do this or that, I'm like, you go. Hell yeah. I'm just happy that I'm working.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that I have that much to do.
Yeah. That is I think that's the way I looked at it, I looked at it definitely like if I took a break, I wasn't working hard enough, because no days off and like you see all that kind of stuff. Like it's very, social media has made me more competitive than I already was. And not that I'm looking at other people, getting upset with myself, but like if you see somebody in the studio, don't you want to go get in the studio?
Anytime I see photos of people in the studio, I'm like, you're not working that hard.
No, I guess that's true. Because my manager gets so mad. He's like, you need to record more of what you're doing.
I'm working. Yeah. I'm not thinking about my fucking phone right now.
I need to think about that when I see them pictures. Because when I see those pictures, I'm like, damn, they're in the studio. I should be in the studio. Let me write a song.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I've posted those pictures, but I definitely catch myself too. At the end of a session, it's like, oh shit, we didn't record any of this footage. And it's like, well, no, because we're putting in the work.
True.
And also like, I've just been behind the curtain long enough that like, I don't care that you're in the studio. It's like, oh, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're a musician. That's like it's literally the equivalent of like posting a picture of your sandwich or something. But I mean, I like seeing that stuff. Like I like seeing a studio that's nice. Like, oh, where's Sierra recording? Where's that? That's cool. Like, oh, they got that board. That's cool. Or where's that sandwich? Where'd you get that? It looks good. So I enjoy it, but also I don't let it get to me in a negative way.
Yeah, I definitely am really hard on myself and let that kind of stuff That kind of stuff get to me.
It's interesting though, because I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you're fine.
But it seems like maybe it gets to you in some ways, but at least it's not getting to you in the sense that you feel like you have to rush out music.
Oh, yeah, no.
Because there's a lot of people that I feel just rush out music. They have so much content, and some people are good at putting out consistent content, but a lot of people, it's like I can hear some songs and I'm like, oh, this sounds like you spent a day on it.
Yeah. No, I definitely, it's always more so reacting in a way of like reflection, self-reflection. And so I never get like, I never wish somebody else bad, or I never, get down on myself like you're not good enough. It's more so like I'm competitive and I want to outwork somebody.
Yeah.
So
I think I relate with that. I could see
and I used to play basketball too. So like I was super competitive with that. And if I didn't come first in like our drills and like running and basically anything, I would be pissed.
I have an issue. It shows. If I'm at a show that I'm not playing and if I see somebody kill it, I just want to go home and work on stuff immediately.
Right. I can't go to concerts. I've been in the last year. 0. I don't think I've been to a single concert in the last year, if I wasn't opening or playing, because I get I can't even enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to be up there. I should be up there, but I also need to work.
Yeah. Speaking of vacations, I spent 8 days in Disney World at the end of last year, and that was my like big vacation. I didn't do any work really. Mm-hmm. Maybe I worked on beats in the hotel a little bit on my computer, but nothing crazy. But from a production aspect, like that whole place is a show. Mm-hmm. It's like everything it just gave me all these ridiculous ideas for like stage shows and just like outfits and the way things are lit and all this like production stuff. So the whole time, even though I'm on vacation, my brain, even in Disney World, is still thinking about like the nuts and bolts and the gears and cranks of how it all works. I can't even enjoy that as like a child. I'm not a child, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can't even get lost in the magic. That's
I would
the Disney magic.
1,000% get lost in the magic. I've never been to Disneyland or Disney World, whatever. I would be able to ignore all of that.
I was very
Sucks
happy
for
though.
you.
I was very happy in that. I was very happy about it though.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I suppose it's like there's still a magical element to how over the top everything there is.
I mean, I work with kids, so I'm honestly a child. Like today at work, I was like, "Hey, Lucas, remember when you farted last week and it smelled like broccoli?" And we were all like, "Ha ha ha!" I'm that
you
kind
instigated
of person.
that.
He thought it was funny too. We didn't gang up on this first grader, but like, I definitely would be at Disney World, like in awe. Love that stuff.
With your life that you have been building for yourself, since high school and into college, and you have your job. I don't know if that's like a career or a job, or if you're in between. I don't know like what you went to school for.
It could be a career. I went to school for early childhood education and special education.
All right, so you're in
my field.
In your field for sure. And you have the music and you're doing all this stuff that's like relatively positive. I feel like the majority of your music thematically is reasonably positive and personal as well.
Yeah.
How do you deal with negativity? A lot of people get it out in their music. I don't really hear that coming from you, but everybody has to deal with negative stuff.
Yeah. I mean, in general, I would say it takes a lot to upset me. I know I started off being like, "Oh yeah, me and my boyfriend in high school were psycho about each other."
But I mean, that's high school. That's fine.
It was a different way or whatever.
I never want to talk about my high school relationships.
Oh God, they're so bad. They're so bad.
Like I said, I think I said this a little bit ago. To get like good at something, you got to be really bad at it for a while.
Exactly. But anyway, I'm just the type of person that I don't even entertain the negative stuff, honestly, like especially if it's from other people or if somebody's doing something that I don't like. If I find the relationship worthwhile enough for me to speak up and say like, "Hey, I don't really like the way you do this. And even if they react like, well, I'm gonna still keep on doing it, I'll be like, all right, well then it is what it is. And I just know that more moving forward, and I either like won't rely on you for certain things, or I won't hang out with you in certain environments. Like, just I'm laid back in that sense.
Yeah.
My one song that was like my probably the only diss track, if you consider it a diss track, which it wasn't, but was Cookout. The song was like, you ain't invited to my cookout, that jam. And I wrote that because somebody was like, a couple people were acting like dickheads. And I was like, you know what? I want to, they almost pushed me to the point of cussing them out. But I wasn't quite there. So I pulled back and was like, you know what? They're just not invited to my cookout. And so I literally wrote a whole song about, like, the hook is, you ain't invited to my cookout. If you feeling slighted, then what you bout? You ain't invited to my cookout where beeswax is minded and tears dry out, because my cookouts are good vibes. No drama. Leave that mess at home. Like, when you are at a cookout with Sierra Sellers, we are getting drunk. We're eating good food, listening to good music, playing cards. You know, it's a good time.
It's funny, like, even if that's like the most aggressive thing that you have, it's still like friendly and inviting in a way.
Because if you're the one invited to my cookout, you're like, oh shit, they ain't invited, but I am. No, but that song, and I mean, the song is about me basically saying, you know what, it is what it is. The first line is, I ain't tripping off no spilled milk. And it's like, I really, if there's ever a negative person in my life or a negative situation, I really do remove myself. I don't even necessarily remove them. I'll just kind of scale back from that myself and, you know, do what's best for me. I don't judge people. You move how you want to move. You live how you want to live, unless it directly affects me or a loved one. Like, it is what it is.
I'm curious about, since you went to school for childcare and development, you're doing that now, if that's instilled a certain sense of patience and understanding in you.
For sure, especially because I was also in special education.
Okay. Wow,
and now I'm in after school. And I do all the programming and curriculum for the after school sites. But whenever there are behaviors, challenging behaviors or undesired behaviors, a lot of staff come to me and bring things to me to help them create like behavior intervention plans or whatever it might be. So it's kind of like I get kind of the misfits.
Yeah, totally.
But I'm decent at, you know, building relationships with them and hearing all sides, seeing all sides of a story before I come to a conclusion. And so it's made me more well-rounded for sure. And I really love this concept. I don't know I forget what time it's from, but this idea of humanism where like doctors and dentists and other professionals in different fields, they would do what they studied during the day, but then when they came home from work, they would learn languages or, you know, do music, paint. And the idea is that the more you learned about, the more well-rounded and a better person you became, because it's like you're more empathetic. You have a better understanding of the world around you, and you weren't just like, you know, that
sure,
master of one is a master of none. But my keyboard player recently revealed to me that that's not the whole saying, but you know how people say that. But that idea that, you know, you just are a well-rounded person, I really love that. And even when music becomes my career, I personally want to go back to school and like learn just for the fun of it. Like, I hate school because I hate getting graded and I hate timelines and deadlines and things like that and feeling that pressure. But if there was an opportunity for me to just sit in a classroom and learn about like even freaking physics, I would so do that.
Yeah. Well, even if you scale it back to music, you know, think about the music that somebody that only listens to one style of music makes versus the music that's somebody that listens to music from all over the spectrum, and like you're able to pull all of those creative influences into something that is your creative output. But if you're like that with every aspect of your life, of course, you know, like working with kids and understanding patience and learning how to deal things, problem solving, that's going to help you one day deal with some out of line grumpy promoter that's having a bad day.
Yeah, right.
You're going to be able to, or like a band member that's, you know, going through some fucked up shit, and you got to talk them down at practice because they're bringing that negative energy into the space. And you're like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, this ain't the place. Nah, for sure. I like, speaking of the music thing, I never appreciated how crazy of a songwriter Dolly Parton is. Like, have you ever, do you know all the songs that she's written?
No.
She's written so
I believe it.
many songs. Like, I didn't know she wrote I Will Always Love You, the one Whitney Houston
Oh, really?
sings. She wrote that. She wrote it for Elvis.
Wow.
And he was going to sing it, and then he passed away. Isn't that crazy? And I don't know if she sang it herself first and then Whitney redid it, but she wrote it. I was like, what? That's crazy. So I'm trying to find more info about like song. I love writing songs. So I'm definitely trying to expand on that, and the fact that, you know, Dolly Parton, who's like that classic country singer, wrote a crossover kind of song.
Sure.
It's crazy.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that there are some Italian chefs that can make a mean burrito.
Yeah.
You just gotta ask them.
True.
You never know.
Next time I go to Buca, I'm gonna be like, hey, can I get some fajitas?
Yeah, you never know what someone's cooking in the kitchen. It's just like you only get what they bring out in the plate, but you never know what they're working on back there.
True. You don't know what they have in their recipe book.
Exactly. So bringing it back to the performances and just the city, Pittsburgh, how do you feel Pittsburgh has been treating you over the past couple years?
So good. I mean, not the past couple years, but this past year, so good. And I mean,
yeah, I feel like you came on my radar about a year ago.
Yeah, and to be honest, like I hate it. I get really frustrated when people are like, Pittsburgh's so unsupportive, like whatever, and they like talk that talk. But
Same.
like then I look into it, I'm like, y'all been out here for like a month. Like, you don't have the hottest music right now. You have a lot of work to put in. And that's
you're
how
miserable to be around, probably.
Yeah, right. But that's how I looked at it. I was like, I don't trip off of what I don't get or get after someone, or, you know, whatever it might be. When opportunities present themselves and they're ones that I've been wanting, I'm grateful. And when if I don't get them, I'm like, okay, I just didn't work hard enough. Like, funny story, Deutschtown, the festival, I didn't know that you applied to it. I thought they selected people. So the first summer I had been interested in performing and I didn't get on the roster, I was like, dang, all right, just got to work harder. And then the next season came around of it. They were like, oh, you have to apply. I was like, what? It's just so goofy. But I use that example because my mentality wasn't, oh, they're sleeping on me. It was, all right, I got to make better music. I got to work harder. I got to get more performances, improve myself. And last year I was on like the main stage, and I had another Deutschtown performance too. So it was like, it was nice to see that. I'm glad I didn't get selected, because I wouldn't have gotten those slots and I wouldn't have had a band. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, things happen in their own time for that reason. And I think Pittsburgh in the last year has been really supportive. I wish that people would come out to the live shows more, because that seems to be something that I don't really promote that well either. But I'm tired of, I stopped inviting my friends because I want to start gaining like a real fan base. So I'm struggling with that in performances, of how to get people to actually come out, because people come out after a while and they're like, you're so good. Like, and I'm like, did you think I was faking? Like, why do you think I keep getting booked? And I'm not trying to like gas myself up being like, oh, my shit don't stink, because I have a lot to work on. But it's worth like coming out and seeing us and giving us a shot and hearing the music and experiencing that, because it is a good time.
That's back to people, I mentioned it before, overlooking or taking local or underground music for granted. They don't expect, you to be in the studio. They're not thinking about you booking all of the shows, and they're not expecting it to be like a top-notch performance because it's just a local music festival thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like...
And what's great about being underground, I recently saw a video of Doja Cat performing, and like nobody was dancing. They all just had their phones out.
Oh, yeah.
And recording. And somebody tweeted it and was like, this looks like the worst crowd ever, like the worst energy ever. And I thought about it and I was like, I would hate to perform. They weren't even interacting with her.
Oh yeah, you're like almost like an animal at the zoo or something.
But at underground shows, nobody has their phones ready because they're like, this person is either going to be trash or it's going to be fire. And then, but rarely have I been to a show, and I don't think I've ever been to a show in Pittsburgh where I'm like, this person is trash. Pittsburgh has like a really dope music scene.
Yeah.
Scenes.
I think right now it's a really cool time because a lot of the people that are promoting shows are not even necessarily promoters. You have a lot of bands that are like building cool social circles, and they're setting up events with, they're basically curating these events with people that they know are talented and reliable and will bring people out, versus a promoter that's maybe just trying to put some money in their pocket. So they'll put whoever on a show. They're not really thinking about actually curating an event. They're just trying to make a little bit of money. That stuff doesn't really exist anymore. But for a while, that was a big part of what was going on. So I can also understand some people that maybe haven't been involved in a couple years because they were a part of the scene when that was going on, and then they got kind of rubbed the wrong way, and then they left, and they still think it's like that, but it's not like that. It's definitely changing. But definitely you have to come out, have a good attitude, and be good. And I think as long as you check those 3 boxes, leave the house, have good attitude, be okay. You don't even have to be good, just be okay. You'll probably be able to build some cool experiences for yourself.
Yeah.
With the future of Sierra Sellers, you got this EP coming out.
Yeah.
No release date yet. That's okay.
Nuh-uh.
You have a release date.
Did I not tell you?
No. You kept on saying it'll be out when it's out. So you have a release date, but you don't know when it's going to be done.
No, I do. It'll
be done.
Yes. The deadline is next week to finish it. We're in like the final stages of mixing. There are 2 songs that are not mixed.
Okay.
And this first one is after the notes that I have given. It'll be, it's done now. I would just like to hear how this sounds.
Okay.
I told you I'm crazy about it.
Sure.
And I was very apologetic in my voice memo to this engineer. Like, I'm really sorry. I'll bake you cookies, whatever. But it is March 25th, 2020.
That's very soon.
That's the thing too. Like, I've talked to people and they're like, yes, you need to promote it. You need to, have like a whole release strategy, things like that. Like,
you don't have to.
That's the thing. I'm doing so much. I want to focus on the music. Yes, it's probably smarter if I had that whole plan. But when you're doing all of it, it's like, I don't know.
From personal experience, now obviously my experience isn't going to be your experience or your experience, whoever's watching. But from my experience, I have found that unless you have like a real fan base, like people that are really hungry for your shit, planning a rollout.
That's the word I was looking for, a rollout.
Yeah. Roll out. It's not going to make a huge difference.
I just need, right now the focus is to get more content out.
Yeah.
I don't have that much. I have hundreds of songs. I do not have that many out. This music that on this EP, a lot of it is over a year old. Just because I got caught up, I really wanted to focus on performing. Now my focus is putting out more content, and I'll still perform and stuff, but I was really trying to get over that stage fright. But I'm really excited about this EP. Can I talk about it for a second?
Absolutely. It's your hour.
I just want to talk about what it's about because it was such a cool time. I was always like a very sheltered, like goody two shoes type person, church girl, whatever. And after my freshman year of college, I would hang out on the street in Oakland, Ophelia, in South Oakland. And my friends and I would just like be out, partying or whatever. And it was just such a cool time because, after your freshman year of college, you have more freedom and independence, but zero true responsibility. Like I worked and I had a job and I had to pay for school, but my first year was paid and I just had to save up money for my second year and, stuff like that. Well, not all of it, but like the payments I had to make, I made. So it was such a cool time. And the intro track, it's basically taking you through a night on Ophelia Street. So the intro track is like the kickback where you're chilling and like it's very laid back. It sounds like you're like in a party and stuff. The second track is what I released, Grown, last month or in January. And I remember being on Ophelia, I had broken up with that psycho. If you see this, I promise we're still cool. It's just so funny. But I broke up with him. And so Grown is like, if you've ever pre-gamed with girls, they typically shit talk guys that they are angry with. So Grown is like kind of like that female hype song. And then the next song is called Good Time. And that's when you just like go into a party and you're just having a good time. And then the last two tracks are like, me personally, I had like not a lot, but I had one strong like romance that summer where it was like I got real butterflies and, excited to see this person and get to know them. So it takes you through like one of the many nights I had on Ophelia. And I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a cool vibe.
It sounds great.
Thank you.
And I'm so stoked for your energy about it. It's always fun watching people talk about their music and what it's about and just having that energy projected. I've said plenty of times where I love listening to recorded music, but like knowing the behind the scenes of like why the song exists and how it was recorded and things like I always find that stuff so much more fascinating.
Well, I like to talk about it. I mean, I wrote all of it. It's my story. So like nobody really asks you ever what it's about. And I don't know. I mean, that's the other thing too. I don't put out projects and stuff because to me, a project, like you're telling a story. Like it's just, that's how I want my projects to be at least. So if I don't have a concept, if I don't have like a story to tell that, is told beyond one song, like I don't know how to piece different types of songs with different meanings together like that. I guess I'm too attached to the words, but that's why I'm really excited about this concept because it was such a cool time in my life where I was finally like being bad. Like, my version of bad is like I drank a Yingling, So it was definitely such a cool time where it was an adventure for me, for somebody like me. It was a true adventure where, there's this one night I remember we were down there and there was these people in a house that were our friends, but they were from Brazil. And they, one night after like all the parties were done and everybody was still like wandering on the streets, they started playing music and everybody started dancing in the street to this like Brazilian music and they were singing and playing guitar and drumming and stuff. Like it was just such a cool, freeing time and place.
Yeah. I feel like, I know you're probably set on Ophelia being the album title, but Finally Being Bad is another good album title.
With like a leather jacket.
Yeah, and
like
you're just dancing on everybody.
And there's flames. So I'm dancing. I'm giving somebody a lap dance with a Yingling. That would have been better.
Holy smokes.
Next rollout.
That sounds like a Doja Cat music video.
Yeah, it does.
And then you can play shows and everybody will just
Yeah, exactly.
the whole time.
I can't even give somebody a lap dance because their phone's in the way. That was terrible. When that guy said that to me, I was like, he's like, the girls would love that too. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure a girl would love for me to give her boyfriend a lap dance. Like, oh, people.
Yeah. Well, seems like you're doing it. You're having a good time. You're
Yes.
making it work. And I'm excited to hear this project.
Thank you.
Do you have a release show or anything scheduled for it? You doing any of that sort of stuff?
I think I'm going to have a listening party.
Okay.
So I'll let you know when that is.
Cool.
It won't be a cookout because it's February or it's March, but
Well, you never know in Pittsburgh. It could be 70 degrees.
True. If that's the case, then it'll be a cookout and we'll have a good time. But if not, it'll just be in the studio.
You could still just have a cookout in the summer.
Yeah, true.
I'm like real big on getting people together to, instead of like always doing shows all the time, just like, why don't we just have a cookout? Why don't we all just go play kickball, do some dumb shit? Why do we gotta like,
I love kickball. I'm not good at it, but I love it.
yeah, there's these like things I think with even just taking it outside of the Pittsburgh music scene, just people in general, just connecting and just being around each other and developing friendships outside of the music.
Yeah.
Because like as much as we say like we're gonna do music our whole lives, like it's not the only thing that we're gonna be doing.
Yeah.
And I think that you need to take those breaks from it and to be able to take those breaks and grow with other people and really get to know people.
Yeah.
Outside of just like, oh, you know, you're the bass player in that band or you're the person that's always at every show. It's like, who are you? I just like always want to know people and like know more about them.
Yeah.
Which is probably why I have this stupid podcast.
Don't call it stupid. I was excited. I had on my I guess I did have like a plan or intention, but I had this podcast on as literally the first
Wow.
podcast that I was going to reach out to if nobody reached out to me. Like if you hadn't reached out to me, I think I messaged you and said I was just about to email
I hit you up.
Yeah.
And you're like, I was going to hit you up. I was like, word.
Yeah. I literally was like, oh, I want to go. And I had been waiting because I knew I was putting out this EP, but I had made that back in like October.
You know what's funny? I'm not a very big spiritual person or thinking about like energies and the way the world works, but I just have a hard time not acknowledging that there is this thing that happens so common where like, I mean, I played a show with you, I think over the summer and
4th of July.
Yeah. And I was like, I'll get her on the podcast. And it was like, your name was on the list. And I was just like, I don't know. I could have hit you up anytime and I just didn't. And it's happened with other people too. And usually whenever I reach out to people, it's always like right time because I'm about to do something. There's like a weird thing with this, like some sort of energy or something in the universe that's like guiding me and like my intuition with like hitting people up at the right time. I don't know what it is, but it's something.
It's a gift.
Something's in the air. A gift, yes.
I was also afraid that you weren't going to like me after we met on 4th of July because when I perform, I have really bad nerves. So I feel like I'm always weird and socially awkward. And even after I perform, I have to like come down from.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. So I was like, I hope I don't even like I black out almost. And I got in my car. I was like, oh my God, I hope he doesn't think I was rude. And like, do I say something else? And so I just felt so embarrassed and nervous and scared. And like people, I'm afraid that people are going to take it as me being standoffish and rude. Really, I wouldn't say that I'm shy, but I definitely have fits of social awkwardness. I won't go as far as say anxiety because that's not what it is. It's like my mind is somewhere else, and then like how I am face to face can be different.
I'm exactly the same way. If I'm at a show, even if it is something as casual as a 4th of July cookout, it's still like, well, somebody's not here yet, or I got to get this thing set up, and like, how's this gonna sound? I'm still like thinking unnecessarily professional and overanalyzing even in like the most laid back environment. So like people will be like trying to talk to me just like real casual. I don't know how people can be so relaxed in an environment like that. I'm always just like on edge at shows. And then in the same way, I feel like, fuck, am I being rude? Do I seem like I'm not like a good person to talk with? And like I overanalyze that stuff. But
Me too.
I think that it's a part of our creative minds getting the best of us, because much like we may be able to put together a song or paint a lyrical picture, we could also paint the most unnecessary scenarios in our heads and think that people are
Well, also, like,
overanalyzing is a big problem for me.
yeah. And as patient as I am, I think I get in my own head now, because like sometimes like friends won't come to me about certain things or whatever because I give very honest answers.
Oh.
And even my sister tells me all the time, she's like, I hate talking to you, because she'll tell me a story and I'll be like, yeah, dude, that sucks. And that's like all I'll say about it. And she's like, Sierra. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I mean, like, you got it. Like, obviously, you know what to do. Blase, blase, or whatever. So I get in my own head now, ever since she told me that I'm like the worst person to talk to. And I was like, I thought I gave great advice like this whole time.
I find myself to be very practical and matter of fact. And if somebody asks me something, especially somebody that's close to me,
Exactly.
and I feel like I don't have to have a filter, I'm going to say
I'm not gonna be
what
like
I'm going to say.
doucher about
Totally.
it. But like, if somebody's making a poor decision, it's like, what do you think? I'll be like, I think you're being like a jag off.
I feel like it usually is this thing where it's like, is somebody asking you for advice or validation?
yeah.
And a lot of the time people will disguise looking for validation as looking for advice. They just want you to reaffirm
it's okay,
it's
or-
fine. But it's like,
Yeah.
no, it's not. And you
not
know it's
fine.
not. That's why you're asking me.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're going to get mad at me about it to deflect the energy that you have towards yourself so you can feel a little bit better. It's like, don't play these games with me.
yeah. Crazy.
Can't deal with it. Well, I mean, I can. I just don't want to.
Exactly.
Got to do better. But speaking of doing better, that's actually not even the right way. I was going to say we'd probably wrap this up.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't think I have much. I mean, we could probably sit here and talk forever. But I don't
Forever,
want to hold
yeah.
you up all night.
Yeah.
And we have our hour. And how long are people going to sit around and watch this too?
Forever if they're real.
But you could come back.
I hope so. I would like to come back. It's just really fun.
I would like to have you back on sometime.
Yeah.
That'd be great. There's so much more to talk about.
Yeah. And I plan on releasing like more music and all that jazz and have other big plans. I just thought about all I have to do. That's why that face was. I just thought about everything that I actually have to accomplish. And I was like, oh shit.
It's so familiar.
Yeah.
It's so funny. That's the thing is like it. I guess before we wrap up, this like I'm thinking more about my interactions with people in the real world and how I think a lot of people see me online as somebody that's talking a whole lot because I'm always putting out podcasts and talking so much. And in this scenario, I can do it. But in person, it's really hard for me to like lock into a conversation with somebody.
I hate small talk.
Unless it's like, yeah, it's like that. Like, so what's up? What's new? How have you been? It's like either I can give you a generic answer or do you have 20 minutes?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, do you really want me to answer this question? Because there's a lot going on. I just
Yeah.
don't know how much you give a shit.
like that. Yeah. The how are you question.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
What's new is the worst.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I don't even say that's the worst. It's just like, it has to be like, I came on here. If you asked me, I don't even know if you did, but if you asked me
I probably did.
what's new, that's an easy answer because this is about music.
I think I asked you how's 2020 been?
I knew the answer should have been around music. But if we had just been like on the street, oh, so how's your 2020? I would be like,
Yeah. All right.
I mean,
So can we please just overanalyze, like the overanalyzing that we're probably both going to do once we stop recording
Yeah.
about this past hour? Let's just do it on mic right now. It'll be like when they have like those TV shows, like they have like The Walking Dead and they do the Talking Dead afterwards where they analyze the episode. We'll just have this is the follow up to this podcast where
Yeah.
we analyze every talking point. And if we
I'm
said
really
the right thing or not.
self-conscious that I talked about my psycho high school boyfriend. And I'm gonna like purposely block him from seeing this so he's not like, why would you talk about me like that? Well, you were psychotic. and how I revealed that I was also psycho, but in a petty way. We're like, well, if I can't do this, then you can't do that. Then I'm also self-conscious. I just hate my talking voice. I probably won't watch this
You're only human.
because I hate my talking voice. It's like I'll watch it because I'll be like, I need to know what I said in case I said something politically incorrect and need to make a statement. On New Year's Eve, KDKA interviewed me, and before they were like, oh yeah, we'll record it ahead of time, and then they're like, we'll do a live interview, and I literally looked at them, I was like, that's the biggest mistake you've ever made. And they started laughing. I was like, all right, well, we'll see. Hope it's not. All right, sorry, I'll stop talking.
I can't imagine you being somebody to get yourself into trouble like that.
I don't think I would either, but you never know. You really never know. I think that's what I trip up about.
2020, anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Oh boy. And that's all, folks. Thanks so much for listening. Sierra, it's been lovely. Thanks for coming. I'll be back again in a couple days with another episode. I'm uploading 3 episodes a week right now because I'm a psychopath.
Yeah.
I have 20 unreleased episodes right now. It's ridiculous. Too much. You didn't
Is this
need
the
to know
bass
that.
line from Ascension? Part of it? Dun, 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 dun. Nah. Sorry.
It's all good. Anyways, I'll be back again sooner than later. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. Start the beat. My name is Sykes. 2020. Whoop, whoop. Thanks
Whoop,
for
whoop.
listening, and we are done. Peace.